I go meet my editor in New York. I'm a year into working with him. He calls me into his office and he's like, look, Alex, I have a very important question for you. Do you want this book to inform people, or do you want it to change their lives? And I was like, well, that is a very leading question.
Right. So can I say both, right?
I'm like, that is a very leading question. Of course, if I had to choose one, I would choose, I wanted to change people's lives. And he goes,
right.
Great. The book you are currently writing will not do that. And I was like, what are you talking about? We've been working together for a year now. How come you haven't said anything? And he said, well, I have a son your age. I know you wouldn't have listened. And well, he's a brilliant, brilliant man. And what he ended up explaining to me is something that, you know very well. And it's that the things that change people's lives, if you look at, the Odyssey, you look at Harry Potter, it's essentially the same story. It's the story of a relatable person, man or woman, who is going through a very personal crisis, and something happens to them that sends them on this quest to try to solve their own problem, and they stumble and they go through obstacles, and as that main character grows and learns and evolves, so does the reader. And my editor was explaining this to me, and again, literally, I'm 20 years old. This is a novel concept to me. This is a very, no pun intended, it is a very foreign idea. And I'm looking at him like an idiot, and I'm like, so, who do you think the main character should be? Should it be like Bill Gates? Should it be Steven Spielberg? And he's like, no, it's you. And it's so funny in hindsight. This doesn't even make sense in hindsight, but this was my reality. It took me, I'm not exaggerating, it took me 4 to 6 months to finally come to terms with what he was telling me. I can name, dozens of friends that I ran this idea by, and they all agreed with my editor, and I still was like, I don't know. And the reason why is because I was so wrapped up with my original vision of the book, which is, this has nothing to do with me. This is all about the interview subjects. I'm almost just a messenger of their wisdom. And I was so attached to that idea, it took months and months and months and months to finally, and it wasn't until I met a man named Cal Fussman. I ended up chasing Larry King through a grocery store, interviewing Larry King, and Larry King's best friend at the time, and still to this day, is this man named Cal Fussman, who's this remarkable writer for Esquire magazine, and a best-selling author in his own right. And it wasn't until I started becoming friends with Cal Fussman that he slowly helped me see, number one, not only is that the only way to properly write this book, if my goal was actually to help people. And he sort of checked me on it. He's like, do you actually want to help people and actually write a good book? And I said, yes. And he said, well, you're in for the hardest experience of your life. And I was sort of laughing at him like, it can't be harder than trying to track down Bill Gates. No, it is much harder. It is much, narrative writing is much harder. I will take chasing down Warren Buffett any day, as hard as that was.